Why are there so many controversies about FIFA World Cup in Qatar, a tiny and religiously conservative, gas-rich sheikhdom in the Gulf? FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar has been shrouded in controversies since its allotment in 2010. And as the tournament proceeds, the discontent has grown louder amongst the media and the players and even the fans. But what is all this fuss about? Well, let's take a look at what's happening. BBC didn't air opening ceremony, and famous outspoken British journalist Piers Morgan criticized it as virtue signalling. Reporters are accusing Qatar authorities of creating impediments to their reportage. Fans are protesting against their own countries by booing the national anthems, and Iranian players showed solidarity towards Iran's Hijab ban protests. These are just a few. There are many, many more. Before we discuss the old controversies, let's first throw some light on the recent ones. A US sports journalist said he was briefly detained by security staff after he wore a rainbow shirt to USA's World Cup opener against Wales in Qatar. He says that he was detained when he tried to enter the stadium while wearing a rainbow shirt in support of the LGBTQ community, in a country where same-sex relations are banned and they're illegal. Grant Wall, who works for CBS Sports and writes a popular Substack column, said that the security denied him entry to the stadium and asked him to remove his shirt. He said his phone was taken away when he tweeted about the incident. He was then detained for 25 minutes and told to remove his shirt. BBC's Alex Scott chose to wear the rainbow armband while presenting England's first match coverage to show support for the LGBTQ people. She opted to wear the band after the England and Wales team could not wear them due to FIFA's ruling on clothing. Now let's take a look at what effect it had, her action. Scott's gesture became the topic of discussion as it openly criticized the host nation. It led the corporation to decide not to air the opening ceremony on Sunday, and instead, the channel broadcasted a K-pop singer and Morgan Freeman's performance. Now let's count the controversies. What all has been happening since the allotment? First, change of schedule. The change in schedule marked the first time that the World Cup was moved from June-July to a November-December window, where the European leagues were forced to put a pause to allow their players to compete for their national teams. FIFA recommended that Qatar host a shorter World Cup over the cooler months of November and December as the temperatures soared to blistering levels in May in Qatar. Now, with the majority of the players coming from the national leagues with colder weather, it is paramount for FIFA that they offer tournaments to countries that are suitable for its biggest stakeholders, that are the players. In 2018, players found it difficult in Russia also, as the weather ranged between 30 to 34 degrees Celsius in several games. If that was bad, imagine playing in Qatar under the blazing May sun. So the schedule was changed. Now, the second controversy was related to the Middle East money and corruption allegations. The Middle Eastern countries had their eyes on the football market for a while during the rise of the Premier League. This prompted the richest of the rich to buy the top football clubs of the world: Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, and now Newcastle United. Money flowed left, right, and center, and when that happens, charges of corruption are not behind. For the first time in the history of football, two World Cups were awarded side by side, 2018 to Russia and 2022 to Qatar. Two countries with a shoddy history of human rights and government formations. Now, the third controversy was the migrant workers issue. Now, this issue was highlighted in India also, because it is the Indian migrant workers who were affected by it. The Amnesty report highlighted this issue even further. Already a country with terrible human rights history, Qatar copped severe criticism from Amnesty International, which is world's foremost human rights group, over the treatment of migrant workers. A 48-page report by Amnesty, which was called Reality Check 2021, said that the practices such as withholding salaries and charging workers to change jobs were still rife in that country despite labor reforms in 2014. The government of Qatar said its labor system was still a work in progress, but denied allegations in the report that thousands of migrant workers in 2022 World Cup host nation were being trapped and exploited. Amnesty and other rights groups have led calls for FIFA to compensate migrant workers in Qatar for human rights abuses by setting aside $440 million, matching the World Cup prize money. In India also, some papers had highlighted this situation. There was a story that was printed by Indian Express that highlighted how many people who died during the building of the stadium were from India, and many of them did not get any compensation. Now, another controversy was Qatar's stand on LGBTQ rights, and also there was this whole war of armbands, one love versus no discrimination. Football associations of England, Wales, Belgium and the Netherlands, Denmark, Germany and Switzerland stated their intention to wear the armbands in support of LGBTQ rights in Qatar, as same-sex marriage is illegal in the Gulf country. FIFA, which has vocally come to Qatar's defense in the face of criticism, rejected the One Love campaign and instead has promoted its own No Discrimination campaign, which features different armbands. Now, there were some requests from the football associations, and that's why FIFA said that captains of every team will be able to wear a no discrimination armband. 7 European World Cup countries earlier ditched plans for their respective captains to wear One Love armbands after FIFA threatened to issue yellow cards to any player wearing the multicolored armband, which was introduced to support diversity and inclusion. Now, there is another point, another controversy, and that's booze, alcohol. Just 2 days before the start of the tournament, the Qatari royal family made the decision to ban alcohol inside the stadiums. Football's world governing body FIFA announced beer would not be sold to fans around any of the 8 World Cup stadiums following decisions from the hosts. As per reports, fans are able to buy alcohol in fan zones and individuals are limited to just 4 drinks each. Alcohol is also available in hospitality boxes at the stadium. Following the announcement of this decision, FIFA president said that World Cup fans can survive for 3 hours a day without beer after sales were banned around stadiums. But this has upset the fans. Ecuador fans were heard chanting "Queremos cerveza," which means "we want beer," during their nation's opening game of the World Cup against the host country, Qatar. The chant was in response to Qatar's obvious decision to ban the sale of alcohol in the stadium during the tournament. If all the other controversies didn't evoke any reaction from these football fans, this one must have really moved them with some emotion. Anyway, the tournament continues to fuel multiple controversies, Twitter fights, and scandalous claims. There is a lot to see in the World Cup other than the matches. Do tell us what you think about this video and tell us in the comment section by leaving one, and also subscribe to India Today for more news updates.